Awake to Cake, written and narrated by Sister Charity Lombardo. Today we're throwing it back to the 9th century BC to the story of Elijah on a great journey. Paraphrasing, Elijah was a passionate prophet who stood up for God in many ways, one of which was confronting the sinful King Ahab and Queen Jezebel. The king and queen were not psyched about this, so the evil Queen Jezebel threatened to kill Elijah. Not cool. Naturally, Elijah ran, far, into the wilderness, terrified, alone. Not to mention famished. After running for a day in the desert with no food or water, a heavy exhaustion washed over him. There were no water fountains, no drive-thrus, not even a drop of rain to revive him. And he was feeling it, so much that he begged God to let him die. All Elijah could do in that moment was rest, so he curled up under a juniper tree and slept. After a solid snooze, Elijah awoke to an angel who touched him, saying, "Arise and eat." Elijah looked around, confused, until his groggy eyes came into focus. And what did he see? An actual piece of cake. Just like that, cake, and a jug of water, too. Now, instead of exhaustion, it was joy and relief that washed over him. Let's pause and circle back to the cake. Because if you're like me, you're asking, was it a birthday cake? What flavor? Where did the angel get icing? Some think it was similar to a scone, a loaf of bread, or a muffin. But whether it was a Carvel ice cream cake or a plain old saltine, Elijah didn't care. He just needed strength. Okay, back to the story. After Elijah ate and drank, he was still too weak to continue on. So again, he fell asleep. And again, the angel came and touched him, saying, "Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for thee." This time he ate, drank, and had plenty of nourishment for the rest of his journey, 40 days and nights to Mount Horeb. What I love about this story is that God supplied Elijah with just enough to get to his next destination. It wasn't a feast or some magical cake that fulfilled him for life. It was exactly the amount of sustenance he needed to arrive at his next checkpoint. And God provided often like that, bit by bit, for Elijah. In another part of Scripture, ravens provided him bread, meat, and water at half-day increments during a drought. In another, a widow took from her only food to feed him, and God provided extra for them both. At many points in his life, Elijah didn't know where his next meal would come from, but he knew that God would provide just enough for the road ahead. And for a man alone in the wilderness, that made all the difference. Elijah and the cake is one of those Bible stories like the donkey who talked. We believe, yes, it really happened, but struggle to see how it could happen in 2025. But let me tell you, it happened to me. Not the donkey part. I'm still waiting on that one. Last year, I was looking fervently for a new job. I searched high and low for months, and nothing. Like Elijah, I was exhausted. At dinner with my family one night, waiting for our food for a curiously long time, my mom quoted this story, saying, "Hey, if God could wake Elijah to a cake, he'll bring us food at a restaurant." The next day, I was applying for jobs when a sleepiness came over me. I sent out one final application and closed my eyes. When I woke up, I had an email from a recruiter with a great opportunity. I immediately thought, it's my cake, and relief washed over me. I've now been at that job for 6 months, and God has truly taken care of me. I will admit, the job isn't perfect. Some days I struggle to see why I'm there, but I know it was the Lord who gave me just enough to get to the next checkpoint in my career, enough for what's ahead. So the story of Elijah and the cake isn't just about Elijah, it's about us. God is telling us that what He has in store for us is great, transformative, and fulfilling, and that we can trust Him to not only nourish us for the journey, but that his blessings along the way will be delicious.